How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. One of my subs just alerted me that there was a tragic school shooting, and I immediately started researching to see what was going on, because it is rare to see one of our royals shoot in school. This is the first that I've known of it. If anybody know, let me know. And this, based on my research, the students said that they knew that something was going to happen because this is a case of being bullied. So this is so tragic. So anyway, we're just going to get into it, all right? So I have a series of videos to show the royal family, and we're going to see what this is all about. Let's see here. Let me take that down. Let me do it right. Play it.
This is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 5.
Heartache from students.
I lost one of my good friends.
Frustration from parents.
Why aren't our schools protected?
And chaos after a Butler High School student was killed before the morning bell.
They are so concerned about their children. They're promising to cross Independence to get them.
You watch the story unfold live on air and online.
The shooter is in custody. There is no more threat.
Now, in the last hour, brand new details about the investigation.
The conflict began with bullying that escalated out of control.
During the next 90 minutes, Eyewitness News digs deeper into the shooting, the school's security plan, and whether police and CMS officials were ready to respond in the aftermath.
This is a difficult story that we've had to repeat just way too many times. Angry kids getting their hands on a gun to settle a childhood disagreement.
Violence unfolding in school hallways, leaving a lasting impact on classmates, on teachers, and the entire community. Take a look at these images. There on your left, the suspect, 16-year-old Jatwan Cuffey, charged with first-degree murder. And on the right, the victim, Bobby McKeithen, a sophomore, shot inside Butler High School, who died later at the hospital. A minute before the first bell rang at 7:15 this morning, Butler High School in Matthews was already a crime scene. Students were told to hide in their classrooms while others went running for their lives. We want to bring in Eyewitness News anchor Allison Lottis, who is leading off our coverage tonight from the school. Allison.
Erica and Scott, in the last hour, CMS said there will be no school tomorrow at Butler High School, and Wednesday was already scheduled to be a teacher workday. After an emotional day, there are so many questions tonight, and just a little while ago, officials tried to provide some answers. First, police revealed this is the suspect, 16-year-old Jatwan Cuffey. They say that he shot his classmate, Bobby McKeithen, and they also released a timeline. They say a school resource officer was nearby when he heard a commotion at 7:14 a.m. Officers started providing aid to McKeithen within 20 seconds. About 7 minutes after the shooting, a teacher called police saying she was with Cuffey and that he had admitted to the shooting. As for why, CMS pointed to an escalation in bullying.
As fear took over, a young person bought a gun to solve the problems.
Eyewitness News reporter Mark Becker is at the Matthews Police Department for us this evening. And Mark, that 16-year-old suspect is now charged with first-degree murder.
Yeah, Allison, as you said, we now know he was in custody within minutes, really, of that shooting. But at the time, police and school officials didn't know if there might be someone else, an active shooter in the school. So they immediately put that school on lockdown. It was 10 after 7, and instead of the first bell, a gunshot rang out in one of the main hallways of Butler High School, and panic set in.
Teachers like, get in the classroom, get in the classroom. So first thing I did, I went in the classroom.
Still in shock, Nate Marshall and his classmates found the safest place they could.
We was in a little closet, everybody's crying in the closet, talking about, oh, dude got shot.
Our school resource officer called in that there was a shot fired in the school, and that he had a victim of a gunshot wound.
Police say that minutes later, that shooter, 16-year-old Jatwan Cuffey, told a teacher what he'd done. She called the school resource officer who arrested Cuffey without resistance. An ambulance then rushed the victim, 16-year-old Bobby McKeithen, to the hospital where he went into surgery and died several hours later.
So it's been an extremely tragic event for us here in Matthews, for the Butler High School community.
While parents rushed to the school to get their students, police worked to piece it all together. They say the fight and the fatal shot that followed were captured by surveillance cameras in the hallway and will surely be a big part of their case. What we still don't know is what led to that feud and that bullying between those two young men. That's a question that police will be struggling to answer, I am sure. In the meantime, the tragedy that ended this morning just before school started has one young man dead and another quite possibly going to prison for many years. Allison?
All right, my royal family.
We're staying on top of some breaking news tonight at 6 o'clock. In our...
Let me shut this down. Excuse me for that, family. Let me get this right. Okay, I got that shut down. There's a few more videos I want to show. Wow, this is really tragic. So I have a raw 8-minute video here so we can get more of the details.
Shortly after 7 a.m. this morning, about 7:10 a.m., our school resource officer called in that there was a shot fired in the school and that he had a victim of a gunshot wound, a student that was shot. There were several officers immediately in the area and responded. After a short time, we were able to determine that the suspect, who is also a high school student, was in custody by the school resource officer. We were able to get the victim out of the school, and he was transported by medic to CMC, to Carolinas Healthcare Uptown. And we can announce at this time, unfortunately, he did succumb to that wound, and he has passed on. So it's been an extremely tragic event for us here in Matthews, for the Butler High School community, and it's still an active investigation. We're still have an active crime scene that we are processing within the school, and there are no other threats or dangers that, to any of the students or staff or anyone in the area of the school.
How did the killer get the gun in the school?
I don't have any specific details about the investigation as it's going on. I can just tell you that the suspect, the shooter, was taken into custody by the Matthews Police Department, and his family is aware as well.
Can you talk about this morning, how things went down with the shooter and the victim? Where did it go on, and what happened this morning exactly?
We were able to review the surveillance video of the shooting, which was a fight between the two students. It was a very isolated incident between the two students. However, what did take place in the hallway of the school.
So after that happened, the parents were notified and they were sent across the street. What happened after that? There was a bit of communication that Superintendent Wilcox, there was a breakdown.
There was a tremendous amount of students in the hallway. It's kind of a crowded situation in the school because it was prior to school, people being in the classrooms. So a lot of students were able to call their parents directly, and a lot of information was getting out through rumor, through social media, and phone calls to the parents. We had a lot of family show up, a lot of parents concerned obviously show up here at the school. It created a very difficult traffic situation. So we had to begin directing traffic, which were parents in a lot of cases, into various areas to keep the scene secure.
What does the video show happened right after he shot?
All I can tell you at this point is that it was a fight between two students, and that's the suspect and the victim.
Can you tell us about the victim and the suspect, their ages, what grade?
I can only tell you that they are high school students here at Butler, both of them.
Where were all of the officers when these parents stormed across Independence Boulevard and then past police barricades? There were not enough people to hold them in place to keep that crime scene from getting contaminated.
We did the best we could with the limited resources we have with the Matthews Police Department with our officers. However, we did get support from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and the Mint-Hill Police Department. All responded to the scene when we put the call out. So we're very grateful that we had what we had, but it was still hundreds and hundreds of people, and there's just not that many police officers to control that many people at one time.
So how did this killer get that gun inside that school?
I don't have that information for you.
You guys train for active shooter situations all the time, and we've talked about that going into the school year. Some of the students here say that the the teachers didn't even know exactly what to do, or did they follow the procedures to your liking?
From my understanding, the school immediately went into a lockdown, and the procedures were followed.
Do we know how many shots were fired?
I don't have that information.
Where was the school resource officer at the time of this incident?
All I can tell you is the school resource officer was in the school at the time of the shooting, and he was the one that originally called it out.
Did the arrest happen there in the hallway?
The arrest did not happen in the hallway, but right in close proximity to.
Did the student surrender without putting up a fight at all? Did he drop the gun?
I don't have that information to give you.
Did the school resource officer engage the suspect, or what happened when the school resource officer encountered the suspect?
I don't have any specific details about how the arrest took place. He's in custody and being questioned at the police department with his family members.
Want to know why this happened at their school?
It's other than just it's a very, very tragic event. In my 20 years of law enforcement, it's the first school shooting I've had to respond to. So these unfortunately do happen, but it's very rare, and that's all I can say at this point.
What do you tell parents who blame officers for not being in place, stationed far enough to make sure that everything was secure?
Well, at this point, from what I've seen and the information I've received, our school resource officer was very nearby when it took place, and the situation became under control very quickly.
Dr. Wilcox, can we talk with you? Your thoughts this morning. You arrived here. We were talking with you as you walked on campus. What's the latest in terms of CMS and what parents should know this morning?
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is that we're incredibly saddened by the fact that we've had a loss of life on one of our campuses today. What makes it doubly difficult is it was one of our students who was the shooter. So first of all, our hearts go out to the larger community and to all of the young people who witnessed this tragedy today. There were many kids in the hallways where this took place. As the officer said, this happened right before school.
A lot of parents now that we've talked to said they got to do something. They've got to have metal detectors. They got to search bags when kids come in and have more cops. What do you say to that?
Well, we've worked really hard on school security over the last 6-7 months after some of the latest school shootings. We're going to review all of our procedures. We're going to review our security plan, and perhaps we will have to do some things that are a little more aggressive. But right now it's time to think about the families and the kids, and then we're going to review these processes.
But your system obviously failed if a kid got a gun in school, right?
Well, we don't actively search every bag that comes into school each and every day. I will tell you that, from one perspective, yes, we failed. Maybe we didn't intervene early enough in a bullying situation. I don't really know what took place. I don't know how a young person gets a handgun in the state of North Carolina, but we are going to look into all of those things, and we will do our best to make sure that this never happens again.
What about school today and for school tomorrow?
So right now we're looking at what we're going to do for the balance of the day. We have a lot of parents who are on scene picking up their children. At some point we'll make a decision about what we do with the kids whose parents have not come. And then we'll make a decision shortly after that about school tomorrow. Right now the crime scene is being investigated. It's been roped off. The police are there from CMPD, and I know the town of Matthews.
All right, my royal family, that is the end of that. And I have another video that I want to show the royal family. Now, based on my research, the school knew about the bullying. And it's tragic to say that for the most part, based on the numerous articles I have read about bullying, they always take it light, and we should take bullying very, very serious. And for our royal son to have to feel like that, something wasn't right, because these kids be knowing what's going on. They be knowing what's going on. I just wanted y'all to hear this snippet, and then I have one more video to show the royal family.
North Carolina.
Damn commercials. Forgive me, family. I thought I was going to get around that. Okay, here we go.
Dead, and the suspected shooter, a classmate, is in custody tonight. Investigators with the Matthews Police Department say the shooting happened inside the school early this morning. The superintendent for Charlotte Mecklenburg School says both boys are 16 and today's argument began with bullying and then escalated out of control.
From one perspective, yes, we failed. Maybe we didn't intervene early enough in a bullying situation. I don't really know what took place. I don't know how a young person gets a...
I'm going to leave it right there. The school know what's going on, and they took this shit light. Okay, one last video, and then I'm going to close it out. I picked this up on someone's cell phone so you can get a feel of the commotion in the school.
Butler High School is not letting us leave. A kid was shot. A kid was shot. They want us to go to class. Kids are crying. It's a mess.
All right, so I wanted y'all to get a little flavor of that, and I'm gonna put this link here. There is quite a few more videos. They felt the need to talk about it for the next 90 minutes, and we already know why, because it's rare, extremely rare, to see anything like this. We need to take bullying serious, because usually what happens is the one that's being victimized, they feel caged in, and the person that's bullying don't know the danger that they are in because of fear. And it pains me. One of our royal sons will be locked up pretty much for the rest of his life, and the other royal son has crossed over. Ain't no winners in this. It's very, very sad, my royal family. So anyway, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.